Good morning. Trey Gibson here. Big Things Fantasy Football League, the championship game. And today, we're here because today's the finale, and what could be a historical event in Big Things Fantasy Football. We have two teams who are closely matched up, and what are they here for? Well, thanks to the commissioner, he's actually let me. This is what they're here for. They're here to take home the hardware. With the money, there's no car this time, but the cup. The Big Things Fantasy Football League trophy. So, let's take a closer look at these teams and see how they match up. Let's just talk about some scheduling advantages and some personnel spots that are actually in the system right now before we actually go to picking winners, before we get it juicy. Okay, let's look at the quarterback position. We got Jay Cutler versus Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning squaring off against Detroit. That's a huge matchup, but what Peyton Manning hasn't been doing lately could actually hurt the Harlem Giants. Brian Westbrook facing off against Cleveland. We all know the capabilities of Brian Westbrook. Also, we got Ryan Grant right now slotted against Jacksonville. Not a very strong decision when you got Ronnie Brown on the bench versus San Francisco. I'm sure that might be a back and forth thing. Steve Slayton facing up against a tough, very tough defense in Tennessee. I don't care what he did in week 4. Tennessee is stronger right now. Steve Slayton's not as strong as he once was earlier in the season. Lendell White scores a lot of touchdowns, of course, against Houston. And then you got D'Angelo Williams. Last week he ran like a runaway slave. Hopefully he hadn't been caught. Leon Washington facing off against Buffalo. Leon Washington's great when you're versing or facing a team who can score a lot of points. Buffalo's been struggling lately. Then you got Andre Johnson against Tennessee. You're not going to bench Andre Johnson. He's a star wide receiver. Isaac Bruce against a tough Miami pass rush could actually prove out to be beneficial for the Harlem Giants because Frank Gore can't play. Pass rush is so good. Isaac Bruce could work wonders down in the red zone. Brandon Marshall against Carolina, good defense, good receiver, good combination, can't complain about that. Then you got Steve Breaston, you can actually catch the ball and take it the distance. Dallas Clark, another combination between Peyton Manning against Detroit. You know, nothing against Dallas Clark, but Peyton Manning just hasn't had the fantasy numbers like he's had previously. Donald Lee has been productive, but against Jacksonville, I look for that to slow down significantly. Unless, of course, they're losing a lot because Jacksonville can still, because Green Bay can throw the ball, but a lot of big, fast people in Jacksonville. Panthers defense against Denver, great conditions. I look for that defense against Denver to actually not be a sacking, intercepting machine, but that defense may not get a lot of points. Giants defense against Dallas, it's blowing up in Dallas by the hour this weekend. So between Romo, Witten, and T.O., the offensive coordinator, and all the problems that the Giants have had with Plexico Burress situation, this defense actually may be the sleeper of this whole game. Then you got John Carney kicking in a dome, which is always great in December. I'm always for that. David Akers in Cleveland, I just spoke about that publicly, so we won't go into that anymore. Okay, let's talk about who's on the bench. Some notables for the Giants right now, like I said, Ronnie Brown, Donald Driver, I don't think he's healthy. And pretty much that's it. Also, keep in mind you got Derek Mason on the bench who caught like 17 passes against the Steelers the last time they faced off. Seneca Wallace, if this game comes down to the backup quarterback position, Seneca Wallace is playing St. Louis. How smart is that? That's a great quarterback to throw in there in the championship game and say, hey, if I need someone to win it, it's going to have to be you. Lavernius Coles against Buffalo. Buffalo is not a great team right now on the Cockblocker side. He's on the bench. Also, we got... That's just about it. That's about the best notable player on the bench. So basically, like I said, you saw everything that's going on. Now let's go into discussion about the coaches. Notably, I want to firstly speak of Coach Harry and the Giants. You know, he's been slotted at the number 2 position in the league throughout the year. Basically, Elvis, when you look at the path on how he got here, his path was a great path. You know, he wasn't very knowledgeable of fantasy football, rode out the first year and said, this is probably something that I can handle, I can do the job, I can make it more efficient than what was here previously. Came in the second year, missed the draft day, took his team, did not complain, took it all in stride, and still had a great year. After this year's draft, after he was actually used to the function and how everything went, myself, I billed Elvis as the number 2 team throughout the year, right behind the Illegal Aliens. He stayed steady in his movement with the waiver wire, and consistently proved himself to remain in that number 2 slot. And once the Illegal Aliens went out, where do you have Elvis, Harry, and the Giants? Right where they should have been probably all year, in contention, you know, and that's where they want to be, was in contention for the championship of Big Leagues Fantasy Football. And then you look on the other side of the ticket when you talk about Coach Henry with the Cockblockers. You know, all year long you heard him say it. He said it when we spoke with him. Nobody expected us to be here. Nobody gave us a chance. Everybody doubted us. You know, we didn't feel like Coach Henry, you know, just coming off a huge victory against the Gibsonians a week ago, we didn't feel like Coach Henry would be able to sustain the play and riding out the coattail of Brian Westbrook, who actually got him to the point. You know, Westbrook got hurt earlier in the season, and so did some of those games go down with Coach Henry. But he still remained focused behind Cutler and behind Brandon Marshall. So what do you have here? You got 2 great teams, 2 coaches going head-to-head, and the Big Things Fantasy Football League Championship. And right after this, we'll come back and we'll discuss who could actually win this game and where it could go. Trey Gibson here, Big Things Fantasy Football, and we'll be back after the break.